You don't need Australian Floetrol to make a cell activator. This fun effect you see in the bloom and swipe technique, it's most commonly made with this, Australian Floetrol. We mix it with an Amsterdam paint and it's layered on top of all the other colors. Once you spread it out, it sinks in these crazy looking patterns. The pattern with the cell activator is called lacing, and the colored shapes in the lacing are called cells. But unless you're in Australia, Australian Floetrol is either pretty expensive or downright just isn't available. And here's where I come in. It turns out all the components required to make a cell activator are already in the Amsterdam paint. The Australian Floetrol just kind of gives it an extra kick. And while we do want to focus on the cell activator in this video, you do need the rest of the components the cell activator sits on top of for this demonstration. So here's what I'll be using. The bloom and swipe recipes are the thickest of all the techniques. The colors should look something like this. Now I'm going to mix 1.5 parts of Amsterdam paint with 1 part of water. The end result should look like this. Leaves a slight mark on the surface before sinking. It shouldn't be so thin that it resembles water. Now if you're new to these techniques, I suggest you start with the swipe, not the bloom. Think of this process as 2 steps. There's the recipe and then there's the execution of the technique. If you get the recipe right, pulling off a swipe is pretty easy. But even if your recipe is perfect, pulling off a bloom is still pretty hard. So let's start with the swipe. Pillow goes on first, then the colors, and I like to put the cell activator on the swipe tool. I find wider swipe tools tend to create bigger cells, and generally if you try to stretch a really small amount of cell activator, you will wind up with small cells. Now when you're happy with the composition, spin slowly in both directions. If your paint shoots off the spinner, you're spinning too fast. Cool. Now let's try a bloom. Same idea. Pillow goes on first, then the colors, and the cell activator goes in the center. What you're trying to do now is get close and narrow the shape of your mouth to an O, as narrow as it can go. Aim for the center and start blowing, and increase the pressure as you move your head back. This will widen your target. Now you're going to repeat this process, but you're going to tilt your head to the side. This will send out petals out from the center. This is a lot harder than it looks, but you're just trying to push the cell activator out. The goal is not to push it down so that you can form cells. It will do that on its own. All you need to do is spread the cell activator out from the center. Now, of course, if you're feeling creative, you can use a small swipe tool and more cell activator to fill in gaps or make more patterns. And once you're happy with the composition, we're going to spin it the same way as before, slowly in both directions. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my channel. And if you want to learn more about this technique and about acrylic pouring from me, I strongly encourage you to check out my Acrylic Pouring for Beginners online course. Cool, right?